Hello, I'm Beth Joey and welcome back to my YouTube channel. If you're new here, welcome. This is a channel where I paint my face, turn my camera on, and talk about some books. One of my goals for this year, or one of my reading goals for this year, is to really cut down on the number of series that I am currently in the middle of that are ongoing, that are, there are books out that I haven't read yet, rather than series where I'm up to date. And in tracking that goal, I kind of wanted my series that are currently ongoing, where there are more books for me to read, to be at 25 at the maximum, like 25 series where I need to catch up. It is currently at 34 and I am reading new series every single day. I am opening new series every single day and I really need to get a handle on it. So I thought a video like this to hold myself accountable and talk you guys through the actual series that I'm up to date in, the ones on my TBR, might be a way to make me realize all the sorts of things that I could be reading. So let's crack straight in with my series tracker and running through all these series that I need to finish, let's be honest. So I'll put up on the screen the tracker that I use for tracking all the series that I'm currently in the middle of. It is part of G over at Book Roast's core pile spreadsheet, as I think she does an amazing job. So first up, we've got the A Good Girl's Guide to Murder series, which I have finished, so starting things off strong. Then we've got a Lady Eleanor Swift mystery by Verity Bright, where I read like a bit of the first one, absolutely hated it, so I DNF'd that one, so we can sort of cancel those two out. But the first series that I am kind of ongoing with is A League of Extraordinary Women by Evie Dunmore. This one, I believe I'm up to date in it because that fourth and final book hasn't come out yet. So again, not too bad. Then we've got the After series by Anna Todd. I read the first 3 books and I just couldn't bring myself to read the fourth one or the prequel, I think, called Before, which is told from Hardin's perspective. I'm fully okay with the fact that I'm just going to watch the movie and call it a day. I'm not going to be going back to this series. So I think I can put a DNF next to that one because it's not something that interests me. Next up, we've got Beasts of Prey by Ayana Gray. I read the first book because it came in a fairy loot box, but I still haven't managed to pick up the second, and I think I actually don't own the first one anymore, but I still do want to read it. Then we've got Blood and Ash by Jennifer L. Armentrout. I am up to date in this series, but I think there are more books still to come, so TBC on that one. Then we've got Box 88 by Charles Cumming. I read the first book, which is Box 88, but I think there's now a new one called Judas 62 that I am still interested in. Then we've got Bright Falls by Ashley Herring Blake. I am up to date in this series and I am keenly awaiting for Iris Kelly Doesn't Date, I think, which is the 3rd book, and I think it comes out in November, so that's super exciting. Then we've got Bromance Book Club by Lyssa Kay Adams. I was addicted to this series for a while. I've read those first 3, like one after the other, and I got really bored by the 3rd one because it began to feel really preachy, but I am still interested in continuing the series. Then we've got Crescent City by Sarah J Maas. Obviously, Sarah J Maas has just announced the 3rd book in this series. That's the next book that's going to be coming out from her. So I'm up to date, but there is another one coming. Then we've got Heartstopper by Alice Oseman. Obviously, Alice Oseman has announced that there's going to be a 5th and a 6th, with the 6th being the final graphic novel. So I'm really sad that it's gonna end, but it is a series I'm up to date in. Kingdom of the Wicked by Kerri Maniscalco. I read and loved the first book. I own the second one and I don't own the 3rd one because it hasn't come out in paperback yet, as far as I can tell, or at least I haven't been able to find it in paperback, so I'm waiting for that to happen before I buy the 3rd one, and then maybe I'll do like a series wipeout video. Then we've got The Kingmaker Chronicles by Amanda Boucher. I read the first 3 books, loved the first one, and then it sort of slowly spiraled out of control as it got way too complicated and I think tried to get way too clever for itself. But I am still interested in reading the sort of companion series, I think, that follows alongside it and follows another character, because the romance that follows that other character was introduced in that first trilogy and I really liked it. It was really cute, so I am interested in following it, but honestly I'd forgotten about it. Then we've got the Lady Hardcastle Mysteries series by T.E. Kinsey. This is just a cozy mystery series that I pick up whenever I'm in the mood for something easy, breezy, and bright. To be honest, I'm probably gonna read another one soon because it's about time and I'm in the mood for it, but I am quite a way behind with this one. It's a very long series. Then we've got Legendborn by Tracy Dion. I have read Legendborn and Bloodmark, so I'm up to date in this one and keenly awaiting the next book. Then we've got Little Thieves by Margaret Owen. I believe the next book, Painted Devils, is coming out on the 13th of May, so it's going to be very soon that I'll be able to smash out that sequel, and I think it's just gonna be a duology, so that'll be a series that I can immediately tick off as completed, which is great. Lore Olympus by Rachel Smythe, I'm up to date in this one and I can't wait for the next book. I don't know when it's coming out, but I think it's in the next couple months. Then we got Once Upon a Broken Heart by Stephanie Garber. I am in love with the Caraval universe, the Caraval series, but I am so scared to pick up the Ballad of Never After because it's like when you know something's going to be amazing, but that immediately makes you more scared to read it. That is how I feel about this series. Then we've got Saga by Brian K. Vaughan. I've read volumes 1 to 9, but I haven't read number 10 because I don't want to buy this series because mangas and graphic novels and everything can be really, really expensive, but it's not out in my library yet and there's not like an ebook version in the library yet, so I'm waiting for that before I can then continue on to volume 10. Volume 9 destroyed me though, and I don't know if I'm ready for volume 10. Then we've got Savage Lands by Stacey Marie Brown. This is a book where I read the first one in Australia and I read it while I was on lots of walks and everything, and I think that's part of why I loved it so much, but I was introduced to it by Becca over at Becca in the Books, and I am keen to read the rest because apparently it's just an easy breezy fantasy romance and I need that more in my life, frankly. Then we've got Shades of Magic by V.E. Schwab. So I read A Darker Shade of Magic ages ago and I came out of that book feeling like it could have been a standalone. Then I found out it was a series and I really wasn't sure if that was something I was interested in pursuing. So I am planning to continue on to the second book and then make a decision about whether or not I'll finish the rest of the series. But at the moment, it's kind of a soft DNF. Then we've got the Shatter Me series by Tahara Mafi. I have read the first book and I really, really loved the way it was told, the way it was written, and it was a fun book to read as well. I will need to do a reread of it before I pick up the rest of the series, and I just haven't gotten around to doing that yet. I am determined to read it via audiobook because I thought that really enhanced the experience. So I've got all the audiobooks on Scribd, but now I need to get the physical copies from the library. Then we've got Six Crimson Cranes by Elizabeth Lim. Don't get me wrong, I enjoyed this duology, but it's one where it's not top of my priority list in terms of picking it up again, so I think that's why I haven't picked it up yet. Then we've got Sixth Sense, or the Sixth Sense series by Whitney Mossilla. This was an absolute DNF. I think I made it like 30 pages into the first book and gave up, so I can probably remove this because it's not worth referencing. Then we've got the Bargainer series by Laura Thalassa, another series that I read while I was in Australia. I now own the full series in physical copies, so I am determined to do a reread of the first one and then smash through the rest of the series and the novella I think that is in there as well. Then we've got The Bridge Kingdom by Danielle L. Jensen. I have read the first book, loved it. Again, this is another one that I read in Australia and then bought the first and the second book in physical copy and just haven't gotten around to rereading the first and reading the second. It's again another series that I need to finish. Then we've got the Folk of the Air series by Holly Black. I just recently did a reread of The Cruel Prince, which definitely incited my interest into continuing with this series, but I just haven't had a chance to pick up The Wicked King yet, and I know The Stolen Heir recently came out as well, and that kind of continues on in this series, so I am interested in finally finishing that off, but it's, you know, it's a bigger series than it originally was when I first researched it. Then we've got the Green Bone Saga by Fonda Lee. Now I did attempt to read Jade City. Well, I did finish it, so I did read Jade City. And I read it when I was first getting into booktube, first getting into reading, and it was too much for me. I DNF'd that series after reading that book because I was like, nah, this is not my interest. But now that my reading interests have changed and evolved and my tastes have changed, I'm determined to give the series a second chance, especially because the third book got so much hype and I really want to know why. Then we've got The Handmaid's Tale by Margaret Atwood. I know technically The Handmaid's Tale and The Testaments aren't really a series so much as they are two books set in the same world, but I count them as part of a series and it's an easy one that I can smash out and finish. I've got the audiobook for The Testaments. It just scares me so much. Like The Testaments, the idea of reading it, the heartbreak I'm sure it's going to induce is just, it's scary. So I'm tentative. Then we've got The Kiss Quotient by Helen Huang. I loved the first and second book, The Kiss Quotient and The Bride Test. Now I've only got The Heart Principle left and I have been putting this off and putting this off and putting this off for so long because I've heard so many people say to me that it's more contemporary and heartbreaking than it is romance. Then we've got The Last Binding by Freya Marske. This is a soft DNF because I did read A Marvelous Light and I did enjoy it, but I found out that the second book follows a completely different couple and I don't really know if I'm interested in reading that. Then we've got the Plated Prisoner series by Raven Kennedy. I'm up to date in this one. I did a smash out of it and the first 3 books were really, or the first 4 books were really good. No, 3 books. I can't remember. The first few were really good, but then the most recent one I didn't love, so I'm hoping the last one gets better. Then we've got the Truly Devious series by Maureen Johnson. I love this series. The only reason I haven't read Nine Liars is because it hasn't come out in paperback yet, or I haven't been able to find it in paperback. Then we've got the Twisted series by Anna Huang. I recently finished this, so go me. Then we've got the Veronica Speedwell mystery series by Deanna Raybourn. I love this series. I love Stoker and Veronica. I think they are amazing and totally swoon-worthy, and they're a couple that I cannot wait for them to get together. It is a larger sort of cozy mystery series, so like as in the books are a bit longer, so picking it up and the fact that it's a really long series is making me a bit tentative, but I do still want to read it. Then we've got Zodiac Academy by Carolyn Peckham and Suzanne Valenti, and I really want to read this, if only because everyone has read it and I want to know where I sit on it. I've read the first book and I think I attempted the second, and it just got a bit much for me because the bully romance turned into like psychological torture, and I wasn't really keen on that, but I am keen to continue, so I'm in this really weird place where like I want to read it but I also really don't. Then we've got Chestnut Springs by Elsie Silva. I read the second book, Heartless, only to realize that there was a first book and a third book and a fourth book, so I needed to go back and read the first, probably reread the second, oh no, and then read the third and the fourth. Then we've got the Souls trilogy by Holly LaRue. Solid DNF for me. This book was all smut, no plot, and I just wasn't keen. Then we've got On the Ropes by Ali Martinez. No interest in that, and DNF'd the first book in this series within, I think, a couple chapters. Then we've got The Four Horsemen by Laura Thalassa. I just could not understand the romance between Pestilence and the main female character whose name I can't even remember, so DNF that one and didn't even finish the book. Then we've got It Ends With Us by Colleen Hoover. I have read It Ends With Us and It Starts With Us. Loved both of them, so that's proudly a series that I've finished. Then we've got the Shameless series by Rosie Danan. I am interested in continuing with this series, but it's sort of a soft DNF. It's not a priority for me, and I didn't love the first book, so I will continue at some point probably, but this might be one that just falls off the list naturally. Then we've got the Serpent and Dove series by Shelby McHuron. I loved the first book, but I'm so tentative about the second and third because I heard that Ashley over at A Frolic Through Fiction said that she didn't like the second and third one and she thought they were kind of pointless, so that makes me really worried. Then we've got Women of Troy by Pat Barker. I attempted to read the second book in this series and really just felt lost and DNF'd the book because I couldn't keep myself interested, so I decided to DNF the series until I really go through a sort of mythology kick. Then we've got Realmbreaker by Victoria Aveyard. I attempted to read the first book and DNF'd it, but I do want to get back into it because I did enjoy the Red Queen series and I think it is a series that I could enjoy. Plus I've got the first and second book, so I may as well give it another go. Then we've got the Celestial Kingdom duology by Sue Lynn Tan. I didn't like the first book. I got like not that far into the second book and DNF'd it, so happy to DNF this series, and I think I've like unhauled them as well. Then we've got the Off Campus series by Elle Kennedy, which I have proudly finished and really loved. Then we've got Red Queen by Victoria Aveyard. Read the first book, really enjoyed it, and will get around to the rest of the series at some point. Then we've got Diddley Squat by Jeremy Clarkson. I've read his first and second book. I don't know if this is going to be sort of an ongoing thing. He'll continue with it, so I've put a question mark next to this one, but at the very least I'm up to date. Then we've got the Mortal Instruments series by Cassandra Clare. This is part of the big Shadowhunter reread project that I'm doing at the moment so that I can catch up and finally, you know, read the later books, everything that basically came out after the Mortal Instruments. So I've reread the first three. I've technically read the second trilogy and the first book in the Clockwork Angels series. I can't remember what that's called, like the Infernal Devices or something, but I don't really count those as having been read because I'm doing them in a reread. Then we've got The Extraordinary Adventures of the Athena Club, which is by Theodora Goss. I read The Strange Case of the Alchemist's Daughter and sort of enjoyed it. I thought it was a bit long, but I still enjoyed it and I loved the writing style, so I am determined to give the second book a go. Then we've got Only a Monster by Vanessa Len. I really did enjoy that first book and I am looking forward to the release of the second one, so hopefully I can get the special edition of it that matches my current copy. Then we've got the Avalon Bay series by Elle Kennedy. I read the 2 books in this series that are out. I think there's more to come, but I'm not interested, so I've DNF'd this one. Then we've got This Woven Kingdom by Tahara Murphy. I read the first book, really enjoyed it, and immediately purchased the second one, so that's another series where I am going to be getting into it at some point. Then we've got All the Stars and Teeth by Adeline Grace. Same situation, read the first book, really enjoyed it, and immediately purchased the second, so I do need to read it at some point, and that'll finish another duology for me. Then we've got the Daevabad trilogy. I attempted to read the first one, The City of Brass, and ended up just getting really confused. It's a soft DNF for me at the moment, so I might come back to it at another point, but Probably not. It's not a super high priority for me, so it might just sort of naturally fall off this list. Then we've got Dangerous Damsels by India Holton. I read the Wisteria Society of Lady Scoundrels, and the second book, I just got a notification from my library saying it's ready for me to come and pick up. So I am super, super keen to continue with the series like right away. And finally, we've got my most recent read, which is The Bone Season by Samantha Shannon. I read The Pale Dreamer and The Bone Season and really enjoyed them both. Didn't expect to, but really did. So I'm keen to read the rest of the series pretty much ASAP, and I'm actually going to an author event tonight where Samantha Shannon is interviewing L.R. Lamb, who recently published Dragonfall, which is the start of a new series, which I'm going to be reading at some point, but I'm going to buy the book tonight. So that'll be something to add to this tracker very soon. That is a run through of all the series that I'm currently in the middle of, or DNF'd, or up to date on, or finished. I definitely saw a few series on this list where I can add them to my finish pile really, really quickly because there's only 1 or 2 more books left for me to read, and they are things that I'm really interested in. So this is always a good way to kind of keep track and find things that I'd forgotten were on this list. So great for me, and I hope you guys enjoyed it as well. Do let me know down below if you guys do anything like this, a series tracker, or if you just kind of run with it and just try to remember what you're in the middle of. If you do that, I don't know how, that's got to be some organized chaos that I just cannot get going in my own mind. I have to have this tracked and everything organized, but let me know what you do down below, or just let me know what you're reading at the moment, loving it, hating it, all that kind of thing. I love talking to you guys, and I do my best to reply to every single comment. I really, really hope that you enjoyed this video, and if you did, please do let me know by liking, subscribing, and hitting that notification bell all down below. It's a super, super easy way to help my channel grow, and I will see you lovely people in my next video. Bye!